Welcome back to Crackpot Sports. Interesting week 3 in the NFL. How's it going, Mike? I love the picture behind you. If you can see it. If you didn't watch the game, Miami was up by, 5 at that point? 5 or
They're up by 4.
By 4, and they're punting in their own end zone with like a minute 20-something left.
Yeah.
And the punter kicks it into his own player's butt. The ball goes out of bounds for a safety.
Yeah, usually you have like 15 yards for the punter, but they were on the 1 yard line, so the guy only had like 10 yards, so it was a little tight.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the game. I thought there were some mistakes made by Buffalo, and the offensive coordinator, I think, was upset too. I don't know if you saw the video. Of
course.
You
At
could
that
not
point,
not see it.
Twitter was going crazy. Like, I just kept seeing that video over and over.
Yeah.
Especially once Rex Chapman reposted it.
Yeah, it was crazy. But some injuries today. Mac Jones was injured on his last throw of the game, and they don't know. X-rays were negative, but they think it still might be a ligament damage or a ligament or tendon damage in his ankle. So that could be bad.
Worse for New England.
That could be bad. Chargers had a few players go off. They had Joey Bosa went out early, and Slater, their offensive guard, went out too. They had lots of injuries. So,
but what do you think about the idea? What do you think about the idea that their quarterback got the shot right before the game, and then they decided to throw like 80% of the plays?
Yeah, well, they can't run the ball, the Chargers. They just can't. We'll talk about that when we get to the game. I mean, it's just crazy. But, yeah, I thought it was an interesting week in the NFL. I was watching the red zone going back and forth. It was kind of fun, but a lot of good games going on. I mean, let's start with your team. The Dolphins beat the number one rated team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, 21-19.
One of the Super Bowl favorites. Yeah. Josh Allen was looking pretty impressive today. He was dominating the ball. Had I think the time of possession was 40 minutes to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He had 400 yards, 63 attempts.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
Miami was hanging around, and then the heat was horrible here today. So players were just cramping up and dropping. Diggs he would come out on the field, and then he would be out 3 plays later, probably 3 or 4 times. Yeah,
people don't understand how that heat can affect you. It just zaps you. It just takes everything you had. And Fizzlehoff says Bills had a lot of injuries on defense, which they did, but they still kept Miami. It was a defensive game, to be honest with you. Even though Josh Allen had 400 yards, they kept him out of the end zone for the most part. But I wanted to talk about Tua. In the first half, he gets hit. It was a penalty. Hits his head, gets up, and he looks like he's completely out of it. I was shocked to see him come back. I go, how does this guy not have a concussion?
He looked like a boxer with getting knocked out. But
yeah,
he said it was his back, was tightening up or loosening something.
So I guess I do have a bad back, and that does happen. People look at you like you're crazy because your back just tightens up and you can't move your legs. I didn't hear him say that, but it was I was scared. I was like, oh my God, he looks like
it looked horrible. The way he was slow to get up, and then he had that where he almost fell to his knees, and
he goes, I'm gonna run back in the huddle. No, I'm not. and then luckily his teammates grabbed him and took him off the field. I mean, but I got to give him credit. He's looking good. He threw that pass to, was it Waddle?
Yeah, the 45-yard pass on 3rd and 20, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a perfect pass. Because people say, oh, he underthrows receivers. That was right on the money. Right on the money. So the Miami Dolphins 3-0. Who would have thought that at the start of the season?
Who would have thought the only 2 left would be Miami and Philly?
Are those the only 2 undefeated teams?
Yeah. One in the AFC and one in the NFC.
That's crazy this early in the season. So people who play those survivor leagues, most people are probably done.
Well, especially today, you figure Kansas City would have blown out Indianapolis, and
right,
they lost.
Yeah. just you never know in the NFL week to week. It's just crazy. But it reminded me of when the way the players were at the end of the game, where they're just laying on the field. Zap was when you're just a kid. You probably have to watch highlights of the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers, when they played Miami in the playoffs. I think 1981, where Kellen Winslow had to be taken off because he was he was cramping. He kept going back on the field, and it takes a lot out of you. Plus, you're wearing that gear and everything else. It's
the way they added like a sort of like roof to their stadium like a few years ago. And I don't know if they probably did it on purpose, I'm guessing. The shade covers the home team, and the away team is just left dying in the sun.
Well, be honest with you, is it cheating to do that? I don't think it is, but couldn't the Buffalo Bills bring some kind of shade on their side?
Everybody's carrying umbrellas all around the sideline.
Well, they stick with those umbrellas that stick on top of your hat. They just put them on top of their helmet, run around.
But I mean, equals out because then Miami has to go up to Buffalo in November and December and play.
And it's freezing, yeah. I mean, you should try and do everything you can to get home field advantage. Like I said, when the Chargers played in San Diego, I think I said last week, they never had home field advantage because, like I said, if it rained, it hurt them more than it helped them. But yeah, Miami looks good on offense and defense. Their defense looks really, really good.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and Fizzlaw says, it's like wondering if it's cheating to have to go play in Denver in the thin air, which isn't helping him too much this season. But anyway. Well, I was going to talk about that later on, but look at the AFC West. Before the season started, I was saying it too. I go, this might be the best division in football history. You looked at the teams and you think, oh my God, they have all have really good quarterbacks. They're
all
loaded.
Quarterbacks have been to Pro Bowl.
Yeah, they all went in with defense and offensive weapons. And right now you have the Chiefs are 2-1. The Denver's 1-1 right now. Last I saw, they were losing to 49ers 7-3.
Right.
At halftime.
And Russell Wilson's starting to look maybe his age. Maybe he looks a little old.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Something doesn't look right in the
He's
offense.
not. I think he just needs. Again, I think we said it last week. Russell has to be Russell, and I think there's some friction going on between him and the coach. I could be wrong, but they hired Nathaniel Hackett. They hired him a time management person coach this week.
I mean, that's pretty bad. My option would have been cheaper just to buy him a PS5 and Madden. Run some plays, but.
And you have the Raiders who are 0-3, and really the Raiders it's like every game they could have won, and they find a way to lose the game. They're just finding a way to lose the game every week. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, we had Baltimore beats New England. Lamar Jackson. Go ahead.
Oh, no, nothing. Sorry. Nothing.
Lamar Jackson had a big game. He had, 218 yards passing, 107 yards rushing. He had 4 TDs passing, one TD rushing.
After last week, 4 touchdowns, he's looking like one of the favorites for MVP this year.
MVP, and that's going to cost some money, right? We're going to say this. We're going to say this every week. It's just he can stay healthy. Because like he threw a pass in the end zone, I said, "Oh my God!" It was a like on the money pass, and that was always a knock on him coming out of. There's some guys who were saying, "Oh, there's no way he can be a quarterback. Make him a receiver, make him a running back, whatever they were saying." And he said, "No, I'm going to be a quarterback." And I think we said last week he is a good quarterback now.
Definitely,
he does throw. He throws a good ball now. Mac Jones had 321 yards, but he had 3 interceptions and no TDs. None, 0. But they fumbled the ball when a couple of times when they're moving it, and of course the interceptions didn't help. Belichick, is it time for Belichick to retire? I'll just keep saying it till he does, I guess. But
he's looking like Brady was a big part of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Then we had Kansas City losing to the Colts, and Kansas City did everything they could to lose this game. Their kicker missed a field goal. They would have put them up by 7 late in the game, and he missed an extra point. Who was it? Chris Jones sacked Ryan with like 5 minutes left in the game.
And then he got like personal foul or something, or
he was abusive language. Because Matt Ryan asked the ref, he said, "What was the penalty for?" He goes, "Abusive language." And Chris Jones said afterwards, he goes, "Look, he took it the wrong way. I wasn't saying anything. We don't know what he said, but that was a huge penalty because it kept the drive alive, and they went on to score. It was like an 8-minute and 21-second drive that only left like 20-something seconds on the clock. You got to keep your mouth shut. It's just a stupid thing to do. You sack the guy, get off the field, win the game."
Oh yeah, and John brings up how I guess Mahomes wanted to try to go for it on like 2nd and 20, and they decided like run the ball and run out the clock. And then, wait, sorry,
what the hell was that? Yeah, John is right. Go ahead.
But yeah, he got into argument with Eric Bieniemy, and then Reed had to come over and calm him down.
Well, they had plenty of time, and at least you get down there for a field goal. And I'm like going, "It's Patrick Mahomes. What are you doing?"
Yeah, like, did you watch the Bills Chiefs playoff game last year, where they were just going back and forth?
I understand they don't have Tyreek Hill, but still, I was like
Kelsey.
Going, yeah, I couldn't believe they just was going. All right, screw it, we're not going to try. You were only up by, I think it was 10 to.
I think it was 14-10 at that time.
14-10 at the time. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. I thought it was stupid. Mahomes didn't have a great game, but also he threw a pass to Kelsey in the end zone. It wasn't a great pass, but Kelsey should have had it. And Kelsey said, I think after the game, he should have caught the ball, and that's when they lined up.
He was apologizing to fans and said he'll be back at work as soon as possible.
But then the kicker messes the field goal. It was like a gimme field goal, and he messes it. So they should have went at least to overtime.
There was one stat I liked from the game where Kansas City running back Edwards-Helaire ran the ball 7 times, a long of 4, had a touchdown, but finished with 0 yards.
Really? Wow. That's wow. That's
1 carry for 4 yards, and then 6 carries for -4 yards.
Wow. Has that ever happened before where someone scored a touchdown and had at least 7 carries and didn't have any yards?
I don't know. That one just popped out to me. I was like, I would add that to the show.
That's crazy. But the Chiefs, they're still in first place, but that could have been huge. They could have had a big lead on the Chargers. Well, it depends on what happens tonight with Denver and 49ers and that barn burner. Minnesota came back and scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to beat Detroit. I mean, when I was watching it, in the red zone, I was shocked that Detroit lost the game. Now, the coach he was apologizing for a call. I didn't see what the call was. Do you know what the call was?
Not sure. That was near the end of the Dolphins game, so I was way too focused.
Yeah, I was watching the Padre game at that point, where I was watching the red zone, watching the Padre game, but I didn't see what it was. But I was shocked because Detroit looked like they were just running all over Minnesota. Carolina gets their first win of the season. They beat New Orleans. Mayfield had 170 yards, 1 TD, and a quarterback rating of 11.5.
But they did end
11.5.
9-game losing streak they ended. Yeah. I'm guessing it was mostly the defense, not Mayfield.
Yeah. I mean, a win's a win. But They were saying it was 2 Heisman winners at first overall picks. John thinks it was a missed field goal that he was talking about. But Winston had 1 TD, 2 interceptions. He had 353 yards, but this is Winston's like 6th year in the league, right?
Yeah, about.
I mean, he's just
7,
gonna.
8.
Is he at this point? Is he just a guy? He's just not gonna. I mean, he's had plenty of opportunities. I mean, I don't know if it's all his fault, but it just seems like he doesn't win wherever he plays. He just doesn't seem to win. You go ahead and say it, Mike. You can go ahead and say, yeah, he is terrible.
Yeah, he's got some like solid weapons. He's got Olave. He's got Michael Thomas. He's got.
I know, I know, but they don't score many points. I mean, McCaffrey had a good game, 108 yards rushing. I mean, at least he's healthy so far this season. I don't know. I just I thought Mayfield would play better, but he's just.
You would think so. After he got trashed, the team just wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah,
as soon as they could. So maybe he's forcing the ball, or he just regressed.
He could be. Although he had a lot of injuries early, it takes its toll. Next up, we have the Bengals versus the Jets. And the interesting stat I thought was that the Burrow was only sacked twice. Now, every time I saw him, he looked like he was running all over the place. But he only got sacked twice in this game.
Yeah, he finally looked like a first-round pick again. He had 270 yards, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interceptions.
Yeah, like I said, I don't blame him. I blame he has the talent. It's the O-line is so bad.
But then I think I did hear somebody like a scouter saying it partly is on him, like he's holding the ball too long.
Oh, you think that's what it is? Because every time I see it, it looks like he's running for his life. But he has great weapons. So you think that maybe someone would be open, but that could be it. I don't know. I haven't watched him that closely, but you think if you're getting hit that often, you'd want to get rid of the ball a lot sooner. Because you look at Tom Brady, and of course, I'm not comparing him to Tom, saying he's Tom Brady's class, but what has made Tom Brady successful all these years is he gets rid of the ball quick. He doesn't get hit. Well, you can't hit him anyway, but you can't. He gets rid of the ball before there's any chance to hit him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marino was the same way, where he just had a super quick release.
Right. And Marino had a great release. Just couldn't win the big one. But I'm not blaming him. He reminds me a lot of Fouts. Dan Fouts had the same problem where the team would just, collapse it all at any point. And then we had a great game. The Green Bay Packers at Tampa Bay, 14-12.
The defensive slugfest. Who thought that when we had the 2 big name quarterbacks going in, Brady and Rodgers?
Rodgers had 255 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Brady, 271, 1 TD. I'm just looking at going, 14-12. The Royals and the Seattle Mariners scored more runs today than they did. But it was I didn't watch the game. I just saw some highlights. Well, what highlights there were. But
on a quick side note, were you the one who tweeted out or maybe I saw somewhere else in that game, the Royals and Seattle? It was these former teammates stood up for the national anthem, and they were battling to see who would stand up the longest.
Stand up the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. I didn't tweet that, but I've seen it before. Who won?
I don't know who either guy is.
I saw once where the umpires got mad and said, "Get off the field." He had no sense of humor at all. But I think it's fun when players do something like that, right?
Yeah.
I know Matt Scherzer wouldn't think it was funny.
Or anybody that plays for the Braves.
Yeah. Well, we had that one game earlier, Matt Scherzer, where he was where they were doing some kind of, was it Scherzer? I think it was Scherzer. Yeah, he was upset because it was time for him to go out there and warm up, and they were doing ceremonial first pitch, and you're taking too long. So he went out there and started warming up. Fizzlehoff says Brady has no one to throw to, and Lenny is hurting. Lenny! Lenny has the numbers.
Yeah, no Evans, no Julio, no Godwin.
Yeah, you look kind of average when you have no weapons around you.
I think he's going to drive to Gronk's house tonight.
Well, Gronk was at the game.
Yeah. And his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, still thinks Gronk's going to come back this year.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't blame Gronk for waiting till the last minute to come back. You know, why take all that beating? You got to come back with 8-9 games left, go to the playoffs, make some good money, maybe win another Super Bowl without taking that pounding week after week. Next up, we had the Jags versus the Chargers, and ouch, the Chargers got crushed, 38-10. 38-10. Trevor Lawrence is starting to look like the number one draft choice. He just had to have a coach.
Yeah, 262, 3 touchdowns and interceptions.
Yeah, he just needed a coach that wasn't, crazy. Right?
Do we start to have to think Jacksonville's like one of the powerhouses in the AFC? They beat Indianapolis last week 24-0, and then Indianapolis beat KFC this week.
And they should have beat Washington the first week.
Yeah.
They should have beat Washington the first week. Right?
Yeah.
They have a great defense. Now, this is where I'm going to question the Chargers coaching staff. Herbert went into the game hurt. It was obvious that his throws were offline. John says his first road win for Lawrence. Nice. Get that one under your belt. Super Bowl time. But he looks like a good quarterback. I'm just kind of joking around here. But Herbert's hurt. It's 38-10, and Herbert's out there for the final drive. I go, what the hell is he doing out there? So the coach Staley said afterwards, he goes, it was his decision. He wanted to go out there and be with his teammates. I go, no, it's not his decision. You're the coach. We talked about it last week. He is the only thing that people are in LA that are interested in your team. Justin Herbert is the only reason why people care anything about the Chargers in LA, for the most part. Mm-hmm. Why are you sending? Go ahead.
Yeah, like even then, like it was like 10 seconds left. They're trying to throw in the end zone. Like they're down 28. Like, what are you trying to prove in the NFL called the polls?
Yeah, it made no sense whatsoever. The only way this injury is going to heal is is to rest. Well, you put him out here. Okay, once the game got out of hand, you got to say, okay, you got to sit. We got to rest you up for Houston next week. You can't. We're going to lose this game. He already was messing the starting center. Slater went out. He's lucky he didn't get more. There was one play where he got hit, and he fumbled the ball, and you could tell he was in pain. You could he's just laying there going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And this was in the first half. So I blame that's 100% on the coach. You need to take charge. You need to say no. You just need to sit. We'll send Daniels out there. There's no reason. Again,
just rest them. Like at a certain point, you're not coming back.
No, you're not going to come back. And it's almost like I said, almost to the point last week. Do you risk him further this season? Because he didn't look. I mean, he had 297 yards and a TD, but he had an interception, and a lot of his passes were not. They bounced. They weren't. Because he has a cannon for an arm. He reminds me of a lot of Dan Marino. You were mentioning him earlier. He has a powerful arm, and he was bouncing passes in front of receivers. You could tell he was trying to get rid of the ball, maybe before he had to because he didn't want to take a hit. They had 26 yards rushing. 20, and they had a lot of holding penalties. And the announcer said the Chargers seem to have a lot of holding penalties today. I go, because they probably told the offensive line, if you're beaten, grab the guy and don't let him hit the quarterback. I mean, I'm assuming that's what I would tell the players to do. I go, whatever you do, don't let them hit Herbert. I just thought it was stupid. You don't risk a young quarterback like that in a game where you're down by 28 just because he wants to be out there with his teammates. No, that's just dumb. And now go ahead.
And then even like how they were going to treat him sounded horrible.
Yeah.
It was like, here, Chris Martin's like, if Justin Herbert chooses to take a pain injection today, It will be done with the assistance of an ultrasound imaging monitor to guide the administering doctor to appropriate site.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously took the shot.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's in pain now. I mean, a pain blocker doesn't take it once it wears off. Anyone who's taken pain pills or anything like that, once it wears off, you're in a lot of pain. He got hit a few times. He's running around, like Fizzlehoff said, just like Dr. Frankenstein. But the Chargers are the Chargers, and they'll always be the Chargers. I know that the Charger fans they thought Brandon Staley was a gift from God a year ago. He was the great, because they said the same thing about Anthony Lynn. Oh, he's the greatest coach ever. Give him a lifetime contract. And now they want him fired because of his handling of Justin Herbert and the fact that they got blown out by the Jaguars. But you only have to look at the Chargers under the Spanos family's history. They bought the team in '84. They've hired two good coaches, Bobby Ross, who they forced out, and Marty Schottenheimer, who they fired or forced out, whatever it was.
Your favorite Norv Turner didn't make the cut?
Norv Turner you look at his overall record as a Charger coach, he had pretty good years. The team was loaded. Mm-hmm. When the team started faltering and losing players, he became the Norv Turner we knew and loved. So odds are Brandon Staley's not going to be a great coach. I could be wrong, but anyway, just is what it is. Any other thoughts on any other games?
Let's see. Hurts keeps looking amazing as a quarterback. 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
He's looking great.
And then amazingly,
the Eagles are looking good.
Chicago pulled off a win with Fields getting 106 yards, 2 interceptions, but I think it was all behind the running back, Herbert, who had 157 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Aztecs. The Aztecs use San Diego State Aztecs. There's a lot to say because she's a Boise State fan. The Aztecs used to be known for their passing. Even though one of their best players ever was Marshall Faulk, he was a great running back, but they always had great quarterbacks, great yards. I mean, didn't necessarily, I think Brian Sipe made it in the NFL, a couple other guys, but I think their quarterback this week had 27 yards passing against Toledo. So got this brand new stadium, and your team is boring.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah, holy Toledo. But I like the Eagles. The Eagles are playing great.
It's actually a surprisingly good matchup next week. You got Jacksonville at Philadelphia.
Yeah, that is a good matchup. I don't know. But it was a good week of football. It's starting to shape up. Like I said, it just seems like there's a lot of injuries, though. You think it's because a lot of players didn't play in preseason?
I mean, you would guess so, but
I don't have the answers, but it just seems like every game I was watching, you see these players being carted off the field. You had the game on the Buffalo game on Monday night where that he got his neck bent back. I was like, oh my God. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know how he got back. And he was out of the hospital the next day, but I'm like going, his own teammate dove and drove his neck. I can't do it because my neck is killing me, but his neck went back like this over his back. And he's laying there. I'm going, holy crap. It was but he got back up. But you see a lot of players, like I said, the Chargers didn't play their players during preseason. I know a lot of teams didn't do it. The Chiefs did. But a lot of teams.
Do you think that guy should have played week 2 and maybe try to get his neck bent back, and that would have prepared his neck for? It
could have been that one. That one just you can't say anything about. But I'm just saying, it just seems like maybe I.
Oh yeah, if it is the Buffalo safety, he is out for the year.
Oh, he is out for.
They put him on that IR.
Oh. Well, at least he's able to walk. That's a plus. And I just checked the score between Seattle and, Denver and
Denver,
it's 7-5.
Another baseball score.
7-5. NBC is loving this matchup. But I don't have the answers, but it just seems like a lot of players are getting hurt. But I don't know.
But again, if it was my choice, like I'd rather my team gets hurt in regular season than preseason.
Yeah, I don't
hate that before. Like players would be out for like 8 weeks or the year, and you're like, I didn't even get to see them play a real game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. I'm not saying that's what it is. I just know a lot of the old time players go, well, they didn't play preseason. What's going to happen? That's why they're getting hurt. Anyway.
Yeah, the old time players only played a 14-game regular season versus 17.
Yeah, I think they need to get rid of the Thursday night games, and they need to go back to 16 games, which will never happen because there's too much money being made. But I still can't believe the players agreed to an extra game and Thursday night games. It just there's not enough time. There's not enough time to get yourself back in shape. Even the Monday night games are hard. Especially for the traveling team.
Got to get that Amazon money.
Yeah, I guess. But anyway. All right, we want to do some picks?
Sure.
All right, first up we have last week you were 3-1, I was 2-2. You had Philly. I took the
shocker that you made fun of me for, Miami.
Yeah, Miami. Yeah, Miami beat Buffalo. Rams beat Arizona, and Green Bay beat Tampa Bay. But you had Tampa Bay. I had Green Bay. All right, first up we have the Rams versus the 49ers. I'll let you go first. Rams won today, though. They beat the Cardinals.
It should be a solid matchup, you think. Hopefully, Garoppolo looks a little better next week than he does tonight. But I'm going to probably go... I'll go Rams.
You still there?
Yeah. Trying to lose power again?
I have no idea what happened. Just all of a sudden I went blank. Oh, my God. Anyway, so did you make a pick?
Yeah, I went LA Rams.
Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams, too, just because they have a great defense, and I think their offense is better than the 49ers, but we'll see. Mike and Jack. Next up, we have Miami versus Cincy. I'll go first. God, Miami's playing some good ball, and they can get to the quarterback. I'm taking Miami. I'm a believer.
Two look pretty solid again today. Yeah, so I'm going to go Miami. I think they'll get to the quarterback. I think it gets that 6-sack number that Burrow's used to.
Yeah. You're up next, Washington versus Dallas.
Do we have to pick that game? Do we have to watch the game?
We don't have to watch it, but we have to pick it.
I'm going to go with Dallas just on the hope that Dak Prescott is back week 5.
I will take – we're going to agree on this one too, so we're all in agreement. Next up, Buffalo versus Baltimore. I say Buffalo bounces back and wins this game. I really have no reason. It's almost a must-win for them now because if Dolphins win, they'll be 2 games behind the Dolphins. So it's a must-win for Buffalo this week.
Buffalo, yeah. Watching the game today, they had so many guys injured. Their whole secondary was injured.
I know, and they came into the game. Yeah,
right guard, right tackle. They're losing everybody. So I'm going to go a little bit of upset and go Baltimore. But I'm hoping for just like a shootout between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
just like a fun game.
It would be fun. They came into the game with a lot of injuries. So it's all about health. It's who's the healthiest team is going to win the Super Bowl. Let's see. And Jack, Denver versus Vegas. Do the Raiders finally get a win?
I will go with the Raiders. I think they do finally get a win.
I think Denver takes over the stadium. Their fans take over the stadium, and I think they still lose. I don't know. I expected more from Russell Wilson, and we're just not getting it. So we agree on that one too. Finally, Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. I'm going to take Kansas City. Tampa Bay's had they have so many injuries, and I think the Chiefs bounce back and have a good game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think KC shakes off the win and gets a win at Tampa.
All right, so we just disagree on one pick. It's going to come down to Buffalo versus Baltimore,
which could be the most exciting game of the week.
That should have been the Monday night game.
Definitely,
if you're looking at it, but that's all we got. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back next Sunday night at 10 o'clock to discuss. Maybe they should put Rippin in. It's. I was thinking Mark Rippin, but they have the other Rippin, right?
They got his son.
I don't know if is it just that Rippin's been in the league for a while. He played for the 49ers for a while, and I don't know. Anyway,
I think it'd be funny if they put it Mark Rippin at 65 years old.
Yeah, it's his son. Fizzlehoff says. Boise State quarterback. Yeah, bring him in. Bring his dad in. Bring him in. It doesn't matter. Bring in Sonny Jurgensen. They could bring him in too. All right, guys, that's all we got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, tell a friend, all that fun stuff, and we'll be back later on. Bye, everybody.
See you next week.
And I ended the show.
All right.